Sam worked the night shift at Base 12 cleaning floors and hauling crates while most of the scientists slept in the upper domes. The base was deep underground, built with thick steel walls and humming lights that never turned off. Some said it used to be a prison before it became a research center, and Sam believed it because the halls felt too cold, too quiet, like something still lived in the dark corners. One night, while sweeping near Sector 9, Sam heard a knock. It was soft like fingers tapping on metal. He paused, looked around, but saw no one. He shook his head and kept sweeping. Then the knock came again. A little louder this time. His chest tightened. He knew no one had access to that part of the base, not even him. It was sealed since before he was hired, and the control panel on the wall next to it was broken long ago. He stepped closer to the metal door. It was old, scratched, and locked with heavy bolts. Sam hesitated, then leaned near the door. He was about to knock back when he heard it, a voice, small, shaky, coming from behind the steel. "Please help me," she whispered. "Please, open the door. They locked me in here." Sam froze. His hands started to shake. He looked around again. The hallway was still empty. He whispered back, "Who are you? What are you doing in there?" The voice was quiet for a moment, then came again. "I am not a danger," they said. "I am too different. They locked me away. Please, human, I beg you, let me out." Sam could not believe what he was hearing. He got on one knee and looked through a tiny rusted hatch near the bottom. At first he saw only shadow. Then two glowing eyes blinked at him. They were not red or green like alien monsters in movies. They were soft blue, like moonlight on ice. They blinked again, and then a pale face came into view with strange marks on the skin, like silver threads. She was not human, that much was clear, but she was not scary either. "What is your name?" Sam asked softly. The girl hesitated, then said, "Kara, my name is Kara. I was born here, but I am not supposed to exist. They said my blood is not normal. They want to use me for tests, for weapons, for control. I do not want to hurt anyone, I just want to live." Sam felt a knot form in his stomach. He had heard whispers from other workers about experiments deep underground, about things that were not in the official files. Kara sounded scared, not evil. She sounded like a real person, someone who had suffered for no reason. "Why are you speaking English?" he asked. She said, "My mother was human. She taught me your words before they took her away. I remember her voice, I remember her songs, but I never saw her face. They told me she died when I was still small. They told me I am too dangerous to ever be free." Sam looked at the control panel again. Wires hung loose. The screen was black, but the door itself had a manual release. It would not be hard to open it if he tried, but it would also mean breaking every rule on base. He would lose his job, maybe more. He stood up and paced the hall. Kara's voice followed him. "Please, you are the first person I have spoken to in years. I am so tired, so cold. If you leave, I will be alone again. I do not want to die in here." Sam pressed his back against the wall and took a deep breath. He wanted to help, but fear held him still. He remembered the training videos they showed when he first joined the base, warning of threats hidden in strange DNA, warning of false voices that could mimic human ones, but this voice felt too real, too broken, too full of pain. He stepped back to the door and whispered, "I do not know what to do, Kara. I want to help you, but I need time. Let me think." Her voice cracked. "I understand. I will wait, please. Just do not forget me like the others did." Sam nodded, even though she could not see him. He turned and began to walk away, but before he reached the end of the hall, Kara said one last thing. "They told me my blood can heal or destroy. They want to use it on soldiers, on children, on whole cities. They do not care who gets hurt. Please do not let them turn me into a weapon." The words echoed in his ears. As he returned to his small room that night, he could not sleep. He kept seeing her eyes in the dark, kept hearing her soft voice behind cold steel. He knew tomorrow would not be normal, not for him, not for her. Something inside him had already changed the moment she said his name. Something told him that door would not stay locked for long. Sam woke up before his alarm buzzed the next morning. The dream of Kara's voice still echoed in his head. He splashed cold water on his face, stared at his tired eyes in the mirror, and whispered to himself, "Maybe I imagined her. Maybe it was nothing," but he knew it was real. Every word, every look from behind that hatch was burned into his memory. He left early, walked the long steel corridors, and avoided the cameras. He had studied the security layout during training, but never thought he would need it for something like this. His heart pounded as he neared Sector 9 again. Everything looked the same: cold walls, blinking red lights, soft humming pipes, but this time the air felt heavier, like the hallway itself was watching him. When he reached the old door, he crouched low and looked through the hatch. Kara was not there. No glowing eyes, no voice. Just silence. His chest tightened. He knocked once softly, nothing. Then again, still no sound. He whispered her name. "Kara, are you there?" A whisper finally came back, barely loud enough to Here I am, still here. They gave me something last night, made my body weak. I could not speak, but I knew you would return. Thank you for not forgetting me. Sam leaned against the door, his voice low. Kara, I need answers. If I help you, I need to know the truth. What are you really? Why did they lock you away? Kara took a breath and spoke slowly. My mother was a scientist on this base. She worked on mixing DNA from different species. They wanted to make soldiers who could survive any planet, fight any enemy, healed from wounds in seconds. They used alien genes, but something went wrong. The others did not live. I was the only one who did. I was born from a human and something else, something old from deep space. They feared what I might become. Try to stay calm, he asked. What can you do, Kara? What makes you different? She replied. I can feel things others cannot. When I touch someone, I feel their pain sometimes. I can take it away, sometimes I can give it to others. They tested this again and again. They said my blood could cure sickness, but also spread it if changed. I do not understand all of it. I only know it hurts every time they come. Sam stood and looked at the control panel again. Broken wires hung loose, but he noticed something strange, a small blinking light near the bottom hidden under dust and tape. It was a tracker sensor meant to detect movement in sealed rooms, but this one was turned off. Someone had disabled. I reached down and pulled at the wires gently. They came loose too easy, like someone had already worked on them before he came here. This place was not just a forgotten wing. It had been hidden on purpose. Someone had wanted her locked away and forgotten. He asked Kara, who else knows about you? She replied, only the top doctors and the head of security. They visit sometimes to collect samples, but they never speak to me. Only take what they need, then leave. I hear them through the vents. Sometimes they argue about what to do with me. I know they want to move me soon, somewhere deeper or colder, maybe a place where I will not wake up again. Sam's heart thudded hard. He looked around again. Every second he stayed felt more dangerous, but he could not walk away. Not now, he said. I need to know more. Is there a place where they keep files? Something that shows the truth? Kara said yes, under the floor near the pipes to your left. There is a hidden panel. It only opens with heat. Sam knelt down, touched the metal with his hand. Nothing happened. Then Kara said, take the tool from your belt and press the handle against the corner. The tool warmed the spot, and slowly, a small square panel popped open, revealing a dark hole, and inside a tablet, dusty and cracked but still glowing faintly. Pulled it out and swiped through the screens. What he saw made his blood run cold. Pages of logs with test numbers, sample counts, failed clones, pain levels, emotional damage. Kara's name appeared again and again, always marked as subject K13. She had been locked away since birth, never listed in any public record, not even in emergency reports. She did not exist, not officially, but they had used her body like a lab. Sam whispered. They lied to everyone, Kara. They said this part of the base was abandoned. She replied. That is what they want. They want no one to ask questions, no one to care. Am looked at the tablet again, and saw one final message flagged with read it. Read transfer of subject K13 in 48 hours. Prepare cryochamber full memory. Wipe approved. His hands shook as he read those words. He knew now he had no time left, no time to plan. He had to make a choice, and he had to do it fast. Kara spoke again, her voice weak but steady. Sam, please, I do not want to forget. I do not want to die without ever seeing the sky. Please do not let them erase me. Sam held the tablet close, took one last look at the hallway, and said, I am going to get you out of here. I do not care what they do to me. I promise you are not going to disappear, not while I am still breathing. Sam returned to Sector 9. The next night, dressed like any other worker, carrying a mop and a dirty bucket, but the mop handle was hollow and inside it was a metal rod he had reshaped into a crude tool. It was not fancy, it was not fast, but it could turn the bolts on the emergency release if the panel was still loose, and if no one stopped him. The hallway was quiet again. The red lights on the ceiling blinked slow and steady, like a tired heartbeat. Sam checked the cameras. None pointed toward the old cell, just like before, just how someone had planned. I've crouched near the door and whispered Kara. I am here, she replied, her voice weaker than before. I am ready, Sam. My body hurts, but I am ready. He touched the hatch one last time. Her blue eyes met his. They looked dim now, like stars fading at dawn. He took the rod and slipped it into the manual release, twisted once. Then again the bolt clunked loud. The door creaked as he pulled it open. The steel groaned like it had not moved in years. In the small room, Kara sat on the floor, her legs folded, her arms around her stomach. Her skin shimmered faint silver lines along her arms, glowed dull like veins filled with light. Her hair was soft white, not gray, just white, like snow, untouched. Looked up and whispered, thank you, Sam. Stepped in and caught her as she tried to stand. She was warm to warm, like touching something alive with fire. He helped her out into the hallway and sat her against the wall. I brought water, he said. She sipped it slowly, her hands trembling. They stopped giving me nutrients, she said. My body is rejecting the cold. They put in my veins to keep me quiet. Sam looked at the toolcart and opened the lower drawer. Inside was a small medkit, just bandages and wipes. But it had a thermal pack. He cracked it and placed it under her arms. She sighed and leaned against him. I was not sure you would come back, she said. Sam replied, I almost didn't. I was scared, but I saw the logs. I saw what they planned for you. We're never a person to them, just a thing. She looked down and said, I never had a birthday. I do not even know what day I was born. Maybe that is why they think I am not real. Sam helped her stand. Again they moved slowly toward the supply closet nearby. It had a lock, but he had the code inside. They sat in silence while he cleaned her arms. Gently her skin flinched under every touch, but she never pulled away. Said Sam, do you know what it feels like to dream of a sky you have never seen? He shook his head. I dream of it every night, blue with white clouds, but I do not know if it is real or just something from my mother's voice. He looked at her then, not as a science project, not as something forbidden, just as a girl trapped too long and far too deep. He said, Kara, I want to help you see that sky. Suddenly, a beeping noise came from the hallway, sharp and quick. Sam peeked through the small gap in the door. A maintenance droid rolled by, slow but alert. Its sensors scanned the floor where the old door now hung open. It paused, then sent a pulse signal, and rolled a wave. They know, Kara said, her voice shaking. They know the door is open. They will come soon. Sam grabbed the mop handle again, not for cleaning this time, but to use as a weapon if needed. He looked at her and asked, can you walk? She nodded. Barely. He helped her up again, and they moved through a side path behind the crates. Kara moved slow, but with purpose. She paused once and touched the wall, her fingers glowing faintly. Then, a hidden vent cover clicked open. She looked at Sam and said, this leads to the lower hall. I have never gone that way, but I remember the air. It smells cleaner on the other side. They climbed into the vent together. The space was tight, dark, and warm. Sam led the way, using his small work light. Kara followed her breath, shallow, her fingers brushing the walls, as if feeling every inch from memory. Halfway through, they heard voices below, two guards speaking in low tones, saying, we found the door open, no sign of breach, maybe an error in the lock system, but check all staff logs, pull movement records. Sam clenched his jaw. They were tracing movement. They would know who was near Sector 9 last night, and he had been there twice. Kara said, we have to move faster. They will scan your ID and come for you, he said. Then we get far before they do. They crawled another few meters, then dropped into a service hallway. Kara staggered. Sam caught her. She looked at him, her eyes glowing again, a little brighter than before. You risked everything for me, she said. Sam replied, I could not leave you behind. I would never forget that voice behind the door. She reached for his hand and gripped it tight as they moved toward the elevator shaft, not up, but down, where Kara said the old escape tunnel might still exist if the power was not cut, if luck was on their side. And if not, Sam asked softly. Kara smiled just a little. Then we make our own way through the dark together. Asterisk. The sirens did not scream yet, but Sam felt them rising like thunder in the walls. The base was not quiet anymore. Lights blinked faster, doors hummed with life, and the floor under his boots felt like it was watching every step he held Kara close as they reached the lower hall. Her breath was shallow, her skin pale, but her eyes were glowing again, just enough to make his heart believe they still had time. Sam said, we cannot stay in this corridor to open too close to patrols. Kara nodded weakly and pointed toward a sealed crate room. Through that door, there are vents that lead behind the med station. Maybe no cameras there. They moved fast. Sam swiped his ID, but the door flashed red. Blocked, locked. He cursed under his breath. Kara stepped forward, placed her hand on the panel, and the door clicked open. Sam stared. How did you do that? Kara said. My body still has access codes built into it. They used me to open locks without needing tools. They thought I would never leave inside the room. Shadows stretched across silent crates and cold walls. Sam helped Kara sit down, then scanned the corners for motion sensors. None visible, but that meant nothing. Some tech was buried behind fake vents or built into the light. Kara whispered, they will scan the base soon. Every ID, every movement. They will find your name. Sam looked at her, then looked at his ID badge. They will find yours too. Kara replied, no, they will not. I do not exist in their system, only in hard logs. They never made me official. It was their way to hide. The shame. Sam clenched his jaw. He remembered the words on the tablet memory wipe, approved in 48 hours. Now maybe less. He could not let that happen. Kara placed her hand on his arm, her touch warm, even through the fabric. I can go alone, she said. If they take me again, they will not hurt you. Sam looked at her and shook his head. No, you do not go anywhere without me. Footsteps echoed outside the room, voices speaking fast. Sector 9 breach confirmed, one door opened. Check all logs now, find every ID swipe between 21 and 02. Sam pulled Kara behind the largest crate and whispered, we need to move now. He opened the crate lid, found it half full with long rolls of black fabric. He helped her inside, laid one of the rolls under her and pulled a few over her body. She vanished into the darkness just as the door slid open. Her guard stepped in, rifle lowered, scanning the space. A small drone floated behind him, casting blue light across the floor. Sam stepped into view holding his mop again. Just a cleaner, he said, just doing a double shift. Someone spilled coolant 2 floors up. I had to take the back path. Powers weird today. The guard narrowed his eyes. You swipe in here. Sam nodded. Yeah, override code worked. Today, I guess I can call maintenance. If you want. The guard stared for a second longer, then turned and walked out the drone, followed like a silent fly, watching everything. Sam waited 10 more heartbeats, then rushed to the crate, helped Kara out. She said, your heart is loud. He smiled. Barely. I thought it stopped for a second there. Kara leaned against the crate, her voice low. We cannot keep hiding like this, not forever. Sam agreed. We need help, someone who knows how to move through the base without alerting the system. Kara said, do you trust anyone? Sam thought of Lin, the engineer who used to work special ops before becoming a base mechanic. He was quiet, drank alone, and kept to himself, but Sam once saw him shut down a faulty robot with just one tool and a calm voice. Maybe he could help. Maybe. They waited in silence for minutes that felt like hours. Then Sam helped Kara move again. This time they took a narrow stairwell behind the med bay door. They climbed slow, each step echoing louder than the last. When they reached the service tunnel, Kara stopped. What is it? Sam asked. Kara pointed ahead. The metal smelled different. Sharp, burned. They turned the corner and saw it, an old observation room, now blackened and full of ash. The smell of scorched wires and melted glass filled the air. Kara touched the wall and her voice cracked. This was where they first tested me. When I was young, I broke a console once. With just my hands they punished me with cold and silence. I have not seen this place in years. Sam looked at the walls, where tiny handprints were still marked in soot. He said, you are not going back to that. You are not a test. You are a person. Kara looked at him and said, then, I want to live like one, even if it is just one day. If they turned away from the room and followed the dim light toward the old vent system again. Sam kept thinking about Lin, wondering if he would answer the private signal, wondering if he would turn them in, or turn the tables on the ones hunting them. Kara whispered again, they know I am gone, but they do not know I am with someone that might confuse them. Sam whispered back, let them stay confused as long as possible. Every second we stay ahead is one step closer to the sky you dreamed of. Kara smiled then just a little, and said, then keep walking. Sam, do not stop even if they start to scream. We run together until there is nothing left to run from. Sam's fingers hovered over the keypad near the tunnel wall. One wrong code, and the alarm would burst to life. Kara leaned against him, her breath shallow again, her skin flickering with pulses of strange light. She had barely spoken since they left the old test room. Her body was slowing down, but her eyes still held the same spark, the same silent fight. Sam entered the code, and the door clicked open. The old panel still remembered Lin's override numbers. Sam had helped him install them once when a crawlerbot went wild in the lower decks. Now those same codes might save both their lives. They stepped into the maintenance hall. The lights here were dull, flickering blue strips above rows of unused gear. Sam led Kara to a narrow supply closet behind a locked panel. He pulled out a small comm device and whispered into it, Lin, I need help. It's Sam. If you're awake, check channel 7. Priority. Kara looked at him and asked softly, can we trust him? Sam hesitated, then said, he hates the base more than I do. If anyone wants to burn it all down, it's him. The COMM crackled. Then a low voice answered, channel 7. Who is this, and why are you using my clearance? Sam leaned closer. Lin, it's me. I need you. I have someone with me, and we are out of time. There was a pause, then Lin spoke again. You're breaking about 17 laws right now. You know that, right? 18. Sam said, I just cracked a security seal. To a small laugh, then silence again. Lin finally said, give me 10 minutes. Stay where you are. If I'm not there in 11, run like hellfire. Come went dead. Sam helped Kara sit down on a storage box. She said quietly, he sounds dangerous. Sam replied, only to the people in charge, which makes him perfect for you. Minutes passed, slowly, each second loud in Sam's ears. Kara rested her head against the wall. Her skin had gone pale again, veins glowing like distant stars. Then the door opened without a sound, and Lin stepped in, dressed in grease-stained overalls, his face half covered by a welding mask. He carried a duffel bag and a stun rifle. He stared at Kara for a long second, then said, so this is the ghost girl, the one they buried in Kara opened her eyes and nodded. I am the one they feared and dropped his bag and pulled out a scanner. He waved it over her, then looked at Sam. Her vitals are crashing. You don't have long. If you want her alive, we need to get her off this rock. Sam asked, is there a way? Lynn nodded. Maybe the old launch tube they sealed off last year before the budget cuts. I kept the codes working, just in case someone needed to Kara tried to stand but staggered. Lynn caught her. Before she fell, he stared at his hand. She had touched him only a second, but his eyes went wide. Sam asked, what is it? Lynn whispered. She healed something in my wrist, a nerve I tore years ago. She fixed it like it was nothing. Kara looked up and said, I did not mean to. I just felt your pen. Lynn stared at her, then turned back to Sam and said, okay, I'm in, but once we start, there's no going back. They moved fast through the lower maintenance halls. Lynn led them through locked doors and hidden panels. Past old labs and broken machines. Kara moved slower, each step harder than the last. Sam asked, how far is it? Lynn said 2 more levels down, and then through the cooling shaft. If the tunnel's still dry, we're lucky. If not, we swim. They reached the shaft, and Lynn pulled the grate open. A blast of cold air hit them. The tunnel was clear, but narrow and sharp wires hung low. Sam went first, then Kara, then Lynn, who closed the grate behind them. Halfway through the tunnel, they heard the first siren, distant, but rising fast. Kara whispered, they know we are not hiding anymore. Lynn said, good. Let them come. If they catch us, they'll get a mouthful of plasma and regret. They emerged into the launch tube chamber, the floor dusty. The lights dead, but the ship was still there, an old scout vessel, half covered in tarp and dust. Sam helped Kara inside while Lynn powered up the console systems, still functional, engines cold. But Alvekra looked around the small cockpit, her eyes filled with wonder. Is this what flying feels like? Sam smiled, not yet, but soon. Lynn shouted from the console, there. Jamming the doors. We have 5 minutes, maybe less, before they lock this place down. Kara reached for the controls, but her hands trembled. Sam took over. I'll fly you out of here. She smiled weakly, and said, then fly fast. Human, fly before they erase the sky. The engines rumbled. The chamber lights blinked red. Sam felt the ship lift. Kara gripped the seat with what strength she had left. Lynn locked the door behind them, and jumped into the back seat. Then the ship launched forward through the dark tunnel toward the unknown, away from the screams, away from the prison, toward a sky Kara had only seen in dreams. Asterisk. The stars rushed past like falling sparks as the ship roared through the launch tube. Kara leaned back in the seat, her head resting against the wall, her body barely holding on, but her eyes still open, watching the sky appear through the forward window. For the first time in her life, Sam gripped the controls tighter than ever, guiding the ship past broken debris and chunks of old satellites. His heart raced, but his focus stayed sharp. The only thing louder than the alarms was the sound of Kara's breathing slowing. Again, Lynn worked fast at the back, rerouting fuel lines and overriding pursuit signals, but something in his face looked off, not panicked, just unreadable. Sam glanced back and asked, how we looking? Lynn answered, better than expected. We got 10 minutes before they send drones after us, maybe 15. If I jam their pathing, Signalkara said softly. Then we are free. Lynn looked at her and said, almost but not yet. Stay awake. She nodded, barely, her voice faint. I feel cold, like something is slipping away inside me. Sam adjusted the course toward the moonbase, a quiet station long abandoned. They could hide there at least for a while, get her stable, maybe even find more answers about what was done to her. Lynn stood and walked toward the cockpit slowly. Then he said something strange. Sam, we need to talk before we reach that station. Sam looked confused. About what Lynn said about her. Kara's eyes opened wider, weak but alert. She tried to sit up. Sam said, what is this? Lynn's hand moved toward his belt, and in one blink he held a small pulse pistol, aimed low, but ready, not aggressive, just prepared. Shouted, what are you doing? Lynn replied, calm and slow. Listen to me. I reported the breach 2 days ago. I told them someone opened Sector 9. I didn't know it was you then, but now I do. Sam lunged from his seat, but Kara spoke first. Stop, both of you. Please. Lynn said, I didn't call them for money. I didn't call them for favor. I called them because I thought whatever was down there was dangerous. I saw the logs. I saw the early test reports. Your DNA. Kara, it's not just medicine. It's not just healing. It's adaptive. It can bond. It can multiply. You don't even know what you... Kara whispered, I did not ask for this. I did not ask to be born. Lynn lowered the gun slightly, then said, I believe you now. I do, but others won't. And if we keep running, they'll send more than drones. They'll send ships. They'll mark us all as traitors. Stood between them, breathing hard, then asked, what's your plan? Then turn her. Lynn shook his head. No plan anymore, just truth. I wanted to stop her from falling into the wrong hands, but now I see the worst hands were already holding her. I want to help her now, for real. But not if she's going to become something even she can't Cantrell Kira looked at him, her voice trembling. I do not want power, I only want freedom, I only want to live without chains. Lin put down the pistol slowly, then stepped back. I'm not your enemy. Sam, not hers either, not anymore, but if we're going to survive this, we need to do more than run. We need to fight smart, and we need to know exactly what she can do. Sam helped Kara sit up, and asked, what does he mean? What can you do that they were so afraid of? Kara reached into her coat, pulled out a small metal tube, glowing soft red. This was in my blood chamber. They used it to collect pure strands, but it was never just for healing. I found logs that said, if my blood touches certain alien cells, it can rewrite them. Take control, grow beyond limits, Sam said, like a virus. Kara nodded. Like a cure that becomes a storm. Sam turned to Lin. Do you still want to help us, even after that? Lin nodded slowly. If we can keep her safe, and keep that stuff from falling into anyone's hands, I'll fight to the end. The ship's alarm beeped. Enemy signal incoming. 2 drones moving fast from behind. Sam took the controls again. Lin jumped to the back turret. Kara whispered, if they catch us, they will not take me alive again. I will burn it all before they cage me. Sam replied, they won't, we're not letting them touch you again. The drones fired once, twice. Shots sparked near the hull. Lin aimed and hit one dead on it, spun and exploded in light. The other dodged and fired again. Sam swerved the ship low over a crater ridge. The blast missed. Kara stood shakily, her hand on the glass, her fingers glowing faint, her veins pulsing like fire. The ship's power flickered once, then steadied. Sam asked Kara, what did you do? She said, I told the ship to keep going. I think it listens. Sam smiled through gritted teeth. Well, let's hope it keeps listening, because we're not done yet. Behind them, the drone followed ahead. The moon base waited quiet, forgotten, maybe their only hope, maybe another trap, but none of them turned back. Not now, not ever again. The ship landed hard on the moon base's surface, dust clouds rising into the low-gravity air. Sam gripped the console. Kara leaned against him, her body trembling from the sudden jolt. Lin checked the scanners and said fast, we got 30 minutes. Maybe less before they send more after us. This place won't stay hidden for long. They moved fast down the old docking ramp, into the silent corridors of the moon base. The walls cracked from time, the air thin but breathable. The power flickered weakly, as if the station had not felt footsteps. Kara stopped once near a door, her fingers brushing over strange markings carved into the metal. Sam asked, what is it? She said softly, I have seen this before, in my dreams. Lin opened the door. With a manual crank, the hallway beyond glowed dim blue, filled with dust and silence. At the end was a large round chamber filled with old stasis pods. Most were dark, broken glass wires, tangled like vines, but one pod still glowed. Faint. Kara walked toward it slowly, her hand reaching out, her steps unsure. Sam moved beside her, ready to catch her if she fell, but she stood tall, her body swaying, her light growing brighter with each step. When she touched the pod, it opened with a soft hiss and released a small pulse of white light that spread through the chamber. Every light flickered, every screen lit up. Systems long dead woke again, one by one. Sam stared around him. What is this place? Kara whispered. It was never just a lab. This was a vault, a place made to protect something or someone. Like Melon checked a console and said records show this station was used to monitor deep gene fusion experiments long before the base you worked at was built. They were making hybrids out here. Kara, not just you. Maybe you were never alone. Kara placed her hand on a panel. The screen showed text in a language none of them recognized, but it shifted slowly, turning into readable words. WLCOM. Child of dual origin. Blood awakens the vault seed access. Gerontitis. Sam looked at her in shock. What does that mean? Kara stepped back and said, I think it means they left something here for me, something only I can reach. A hidden panel slid open behind the pod, revealing a chamber glowing with soft green light, and inside it sat a small floating core pulsing with energy. Kara stepped forward again, her hands shaking, her skin glowing brighter than ever, veins dancing with silver light. Lin scanned the core. This thing's alive, it's connected to her DNA. Somehow, I've never seen tech like this. Kara looked at Sam, her voice steady for the first time. I can feel it. It's not just a machine, it's memory. It holds the past of who I am, and maybe a way to protect others, like me. Sam asked, can it help you survive? She nodded. I think it can do more than that. It can give me control, not just over what they did to me, but what I become. Sam smiled. Then take it, it's yours, always. Waskara placed both hands on the core. It pulsed once, then melted into light and flowed into her chest. Her eyes snapped shut, her body lifted an inch off the ground, then gently fell back down. She opened her eyes, glowing bright white, then blinked, and the light faded, replaced by calm, steady breath. Her skin still shimmered, but her voice was strong. A ginny feel. Whole now, no more breaking, no more burning. I am not a mistake, Lin said softly. Then we just made history. But before anyone could speak, the alarm buzzed again. Enemy signal inbound. 4 ships closing fast. Sam ran to the console. Can we fly out? Kara shook her head. No, the ship won't make it. Not with me inside. They'll track it before we reach orbit, Lin said. Then we stay and fight. But Kara looked at them both and said, no, you leave. I stay here. This station is alive now with me in it. I can lock it down. No one will get inside. No one will hurt me. Again Sam stepped forward. No, we leave together, or not at all. Kara touched his chest and said, you already gave me the sky, Sam. Now I give you something too. She pulled a vial from her belt filled with glowing blue liquid. She placed it in his hand. This is my blood, pure and calm. If anyone ever finds you and you're hurt, drink it. It will heal you. But more than that, it will remind you of me. Sam looked down at the vial, then at her. Don't do this, Kara said. I am not dying, Sam. I am becoming something new, something they cannot cage. Lin said quietly, we'll come back for you someday. Kara smiled. I'll be waiting. Sam stepped into the ship, his heart heavy. The ramp closed, and the engines roared. As they lifted off from the moon, Kara stood at the top of the vault, her eyes watching the sky grow smaller. The moment the ship vanished, she turned and touched the control panel. The entire station sealed, with a pulse of energy locking itself tighter than any prison. But this time she was not trapped. This time she was guarding a legacy back in the ship. Sam held the vial close to his heart. Lin flew quiet, the stars passing like quiet ghosts somewhere. Behind them on a silent moon, a girl born of 2 worlds finally stood free, and for the first time, she smiled not with sorrow, but with power, with peace, with hope.